Hey there, YouTubers. This is Cloud the Tank. This is 2018 right now, and this is in the month of April. And I'm doing a small little repair on a little device that I ordered off of eBay that's supposedly brand new, but unfortunately the darn thing came broken. So, but I will show you what it is. It's a 2-channel hi-fi power amplifier with USB, SD, FM digital player. This is the box for it. Here's some of the details about this unit here. It's just a cheap little thing, by a couple bucks. I think it was like 20 or 30 or something like that. It's real cheap. This is the front of the unit here. This thing actually does function, and apparently when I got it in, the treble switch was completely sheared off, which I'll show you here. This is the treble switch that was broken off for some reason. I tried to ask for the eBay seller to see if they can give me a new one, but unfortunately this thing is so cheap, they would only refund me about like $2 because these things cost like 99 cents and they want me to take it to a repair shop. There is no real repair shops in my area whatsoever, so I'm basically out of luck with that. This is what's left of the switch that's still soldered in. It's just a 6-pin switch that you can actually use just like this here that turns. It's the same model as this, the B50K. And I managed to order 2 brand new ones, and I'm going to install this into the machine so that way I can have some trouble. It's a pretty decent device. It's nothing too high end, which I didn't want anything high end at all. Just want something that works. This thing is kind of cheaply built, not very easy to take apart, but it's kind of built like an old style, like some of the units that were built in the 70s, where you had to take the front plate off, and this and the back piece right here, this is one piece. So you have to basically just unscrew anything that's attached to the back and then take the front off. Then you have to take whatever of the screws that might be holding the board in place out of the way, which this one here is not. It's just kind of floating up in the air. So what I'm going to attempt to do, I'm going to went ahead and desolder these 2 pieces right here, get them off, then put in the new switch and reattach ground wire to the top of it. Okay, I got the 2 pieces now removed. You can see that it's completely gone now. So now, what I'm just going to do is install the brand new switch into that spot right there. Then this thing will be ready to be put back together. Alright, I got the new switch in place, and one thing I actually did notice on these new switches that the end here is a lot smaller, shorter compared to the ones that they put in here. So, but I'm hoping that I should have enough room where I'll be able to grip that, so that way I can put this knob back on there and be able to turn it, even if it being a little short. But I'm hoping it should work out, so I'll see when they get it all back together again. I just gotta wait for the soldering iron to warm up here, then I can solder these 6 points back together, and we'll see what happens. Alright, there's the soldering job. I just want to give you a good look before I put this thing back together. Alright. Okay, the entire unit is now back together again. As you can see, the switch is it's sticking out just enough where I'll be able to do something with that, so that's a good sign. Everything else is all good. Now the next thing is to do is mainly put the stuff back on, but I think what I might do is I might plug this in first, make sure it fires up like it's supposed to, Um, for something like this, if somebody was to buy something like this, there are several things you have to watch out for. Which, for my case, make sure all your switches are not wobbly. Make sure they're all solid, like they're supposed to here. You can see they're stiff and not moving anywhere. Because when I had mine, this switch right here, that's when it's broke, was really wiggly. Like, it wasn't solid like what this is. So that meant to tell me that it was actually really broke. Another fault on this design is this right here. When you go to use this port right here, it's not really being held on by nothing whatsoever. As you can see here, there's just nothing to keep this thing from being shoved or twisted. As you can see, it's basically kind of twisted in there. It's not very straight whatsoever. And all they got it holding is hot glue, so, which is stupid, but what can you expect for something from China that's cheap, I guess you could say. But when you go to, if you're going to have to take, another thing is the holes for the original frame, which is this right here. The holes are drilled out very poorly. They're out of round, very sloppy, and some of these screws are already been stripped when they screwed it in here. The holes don't line up whatsoever. They just barely kind of line, so just enough where you can get the screw in, but it's not very secure. It's really shit, if you ask me. It's really crappy. But if you had to do any repair on this, first you would have to remove the 2 screws, which is on the bottom here. You got to remove those 2 screws there. And just in case if you have to move the transformer, there's 2 screws right here that hold the power transformer in place, which is this big guy right here, which is pretty huge, as you can see. It's not exactly a lightweight, which is probably where it gets its 200 watts from. It's from this guy. And it runs on this Philips chip right here, which I'm guessing this is going to be the transistor that deals with the left and right audio channels, and also takes care of several other devices like the inputs in the back and whatever. Because you have the audio jacks right here, which I don't think they work right like they're supposed to. You have your standard speaker outputs right there, and this thing's got 2-way power in, so it's got that one I just showed you, and then a regular power supply where you can hook it up to like a car or something. Then you got these boards right here in the front. I'm thinking one of these has got to be for the Bluetooth, which could be this bottom board right here. I'm thinking that's going to be for the Bluetooth section. This thing here operates the lights, which there's little cutter lights that come in there in the front. One of them is kind of shoved back. You can see, kind of shoved in there. But what this thing will do, these things will light up. So, yeah. Besides the Bluetooth, this thing also handles the USB port and the micro SD card, which will fit into the slot here. You also got an AUX auxiliary port, so you can hook something into there. I think it's got Bluetooth options, so you can Bluetooth your phone or any Bluetooth device to this, which is pretty cool. I don't know. But like as I mentioned, this board is basically being held up by the front plate, which comes off, and this back plate that stays in place because it's one piece. And you can see there's a pretty big gap under there, so that's the only thing that's holding this board up. There's absolutely no supports or like rubber grommets sitting on the bottom of this thing whatsoever, so it's just literally just floating up in the air, just having just the tension hold on by those 3 switches. The volume, which acts like an off and on switch, which if you can hear, Hear it? It's got an off and on switch on there, which apparently doesn't do anything. They don't have it connected, but they just use the volume portion of this switch, so that off and on click has absolutely nothing to do with the power. Instead, your power's on this switch here. That's what they set it on. I don't know why, but they could have just used this thing here. Would have been easier, but whatever. But anyways, so when you go to take this apart, 2 screws on the bottom of this front plate have to come off. And then you got to disconnect this little cable right here, which comes all the way to this small board on the bottom. You have to disconnect it off the antenna. You have these 3 white cables right here that have to come off. One's located here in the back behind the heatsink. And you got the other 2, this right here, this one and this one here. Both of those have to come off. Then the last remaining screws is the 2 right here on side the speaker output, and this right here from the audio input RCA. Just remove all of those, and this whole thing will come apart. Well, yeah. So that's basically. I'm just going to end the video here. I'm not going to really show this thing displaying and whatever, but you'll probably get the picture if you ever wanted to buy one of these. You can, but I wouldn't bet on putting anything serious on something like this just because it's cheap and whatever. But if you want something to just to play with or something like that, this would be a pretty good option to just to mess with. Or you can actually use this at a shop or something if you're wanting to hook up like a small set of speakers to this. And you can use it for a workshop if you don't mind it getting dirty or whatever and don't care about it because it's so cheap. So that's the end of this video. Have a good day. See ya.